Today's topic for discussion is polity. We are just taking a break from current affairs, contemporary affairs. So we'll be doing polity. The whole polity will be covered in two parts as usual. In that also there is a current affairs and the other the static part. So we'll see how it goes out. But today's topic is misinformation versus disinformation. It's everyday news. It's meal news. Like whenever you have a meal, you got to hear about this. N number of times, N number of instances, you might have heard what? Digital arrest, cyber arrest. Suna hai na? Okay, those are the terms which we'll be dealing with today. So we'll start with why is it important, and we'll just take a few examples just to understand the brief context. Okay, what is going on? So this is an idea of digital arrest. In one line, it means that you are arrested digitally. You'll be sitting in a chair, you'll be looking at your monitor or your screen or your computer, and you can't move here and there. That is the basic idea. The deeper consequences we'll see in the next slides. Second is, you can see this image. This is a pilot, Shivangi Singh. She is India's only pilot who drives an Rafale, and she is a present President Draupadi Murmu. The instance was that during Operation Sindoor, in the broader picture, a theme was called into notice called narrative building, narrative warfare. Okay, so in that part of narrative warfare, fake social media or just fake news, fake profiles were created and shown that Shivangi Singh had been captured by Pakistani forces. Okay, so our government took some time and finally, she's been seen flying with Draupadi Murmu. It's a tight slap on the Pakistani news journalists and the whole PR team and the whole narrative warfare team. But we were too late in showing what was the truth. So that is part of, before knowing the truth, everyone was what they were believing. That was part of fake news. So our title again, misinformation and disinformation. And this is not a global, it is not a India related or Pakistan related context. It is worldwide phenomena. Okay? So presently I am taking that one tweet. It's not a tweet. It's his own. It's just kind of a tweet. President Trump has recently said something about nuclear arms race, and that was complete false information according to the database of USA itself. According to the database of nuclear of USA itself, it was. And the other is, it's a 30 seconds video. If you get time, please see. In this video, nowadays Venezuela is very much in news. And the whole idea is that it's like colonialism times. USA is behind Venezuela, its resources. That's what the intellectuals are saying. So USA is trying to build a narrative that why it wants to attack, conquer, do a regime change in Venezuela. And for that he just mentioned what? That from Venezuela, drugs are being supplied to USA. That is there. That is the context. But the magnitude and the margin with which he mentioned was different. What he simply said was that 300 million Americans had died due to drug abuse, and the drug was mainly sourced from USA. Now, this was complete misinformation / disinformation. What the facts was, the whole population of USA itself is how much? 330 million. And according to Mr. Trump, 300 of them were killed due to drug abuse. So this is understood now. The basic propaganda is how to manipulate fake news, how to just misinformation, how to feed you with wrong information, and through that do what? Create unrest. See, there are small goals, there are large goals, but what we try to study is in the context of the country, in the context of nation. Personal problems, this is not the platform to discuss it. So this was a broad context. Now we'll see the whole chapter. These are very two similar sounding words, misinformation and disinformation. So what's the difference between them? That is crucial. Let's start. Okay. You all might have heard, it's a everyday word, data. Sorry. Data is the new oil. New oil, right? Now what does that mean? That means personal data, professional data, any form of data. That is the new currency. That is what we are fighting for. And India is in the middle of it because the data that we produce, because of our demography, because of our population, because of a what? Young population. We are in the middle of everything. Everyone wants a piece of India. Everyone wants India to be in their interest because we've got the numbers. Okay, so that is it. Now, you see why is it in news we've seen? Now, how the two terms are different. ठीक है, we'll see it through a map, through a diagram. Okay, just imagine there's one word known as misinformation. I'll just write mis. The other is disinformation. One is non-information and the other is, yes, single-handed information. Okay, and this is the middle part. When all this is clubbed under a common umbrella term which is known as fake news. Just write it down, fake news. Okay, the umbrella term is fake news. Why is it in news? We all got it. Now important is the two words misinformation and disinformation, because based on these two words penalty is decided. Whether you are culprit, whether you are victim, you are the perpetrator. See, okay, two fingers. ठीक है. Misinformation is what is being said, what Trump is doing, because he is ruling out information, he is providing information due to ignorance. The intention, the word intention is accounted for over here. If your intention is to do something negative, then it will be known as disinformation. But if you just unknowingly, unintentionally pass out information which is incorrect, then it is known as misinformation. Okay, that is what and this diagram which you've seen, misinformation, disinformation, one-sided information and non-information, it was given where? It was given in ADR, Association of Democratic Reforms versus Government of India case in 2024. The case was largely related to what? Electoral bonds. So the misuse of electoral bonds, and in that it was said that uninformed citizenry is what? It is a farce on democracy. The depth that this line holds. What is opposite of uninformed? Like the citizens should be informed. That is the power of information. Okay. All what is important is authentic information is important, not just information. Authentic, verified from verified sources is important. And another term which you need to know in all this is information epidemic. Okay. It's a very simple term. It simply means there is so much information right now that to clarify or just to compartmentalize which is right, which is wrong is very troublesome these days. It is also known as infodemics. Information epidemic is also known as infodemics. You can use these in your answers. Okay. Continuing forward, there are two things which you need to know. First, the article of a constitution which it is related to. This whole idea is related to what? Article 19, freedom of speech. You have the right to say anything, but in that it comes Article 19, clause 2. There are what? 6 restrictions to freedom of speech. You need to remember that. On the clauses in which Article 19, the freedom of speech is restricted. That is to be known. And the other is recently Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita section 353, which does what? It criminalizes fake news through internet medium of electronic or internet medium. That is the whole idea. Criminalization through circulation. Okay, remember that. See, this is important points. That is why we are discussing it first. Now, we'll discuss all the general terms and a brief history. Like, for example, it is important, right? What is fake news? Fake news is a form of telling lies, telling false information. But that has been going on since ages. Everyone lies no matter what. Not everyone, just understand. So, idea is, why is it in news now, or why is it of so much importance now? Importance is because it has created a menace now. First it was personal level, now it's regional, national, global level. It is affecting everyone. So how has it become a menace? Okay. Just one word, the word is tech. If you understand technology, earlier what people did not have, now the word is tech. What tech denotes is, now you've got a digital world, you've got a digitally globalized world. Now the idea of international citizens, universal citizens is more understandable. For example, earlier when news used to travel, it used to take time. Even in the media times of mainstream media, it used to take time, like a day or half an hour. But now it is all real time, like something is happening in the most remotest part of the world and you will be knowing it or live streaming it or live viewing it at that same moment. That is the power of tech. So what has tech done? It has amplified things. Okay? Amplification of things. In mathematical terms, you will understand there are two. One is arithmetic progression, something which gradually increases, and the other is geometric progression. Like if you just try to see in a graph, arithmetic progression is like this, AR. Okay, but when it rises like this exponentially, that is known as geometric progression. Okay, that is the role which tech is having these days. That is the role of social media these days. Okay. Now, understood the role of tech? Now, who is tech using? People like us, the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, and nowadays everyone is using tech. Like there are multiple reports like of 1 crore population, 1.4 billion, roughly 50% or less than 40 to 50%, everyone have got smartphones in their hands. The whole world, the civilized world, the globalized world, the tech world, everyone has smartphone. So, as we discussed earlier, there are two very interesting words which you need to know. Attention economy. Okay. Recently, you might have seen a video of our best chess player, Gukesh, and Nakamura. What he did was, he just, after winning, he just threw the chess piece of Gukesh into the air, into the crowd, and trying to cheer the crowd for himself. So this was termed as what? This was termed as attention economy. The new currency after data is attention, your attention, because how is data driven? Through your attention. The time which you are giving these days to social media, you are just giving your time, but through your time they are earning. So your attention is the new currency. Data is the new currency. Data bracket your attention is the new currency. So this was termed as attention economy. The whole idea is like fake news is going on from ages. Now through the amplified medium of social media, okay, to garner your attention, all this is being done. Another word is emocracy, emotional democracy. People nowadays or since ages were very emotional still now, but now they're very charged because news is flying like this, be it fake news, be it real news. You don't get time to verify. It's like a momentum. Everything rises like a momentum. Something goes on and there is no time to have a fact check on it. Everyone has the opinion immediately. That is called emotional democracy. People are being driven by emotions. When these two are clubbed together and you've got your own views, right? Understood that your views, your attention is the new currency. What next? Now all these, see, everything is a medium of earning money. Okay? Just sideline ethics. We try to study ethics from a national perspective, from human perspective. But for the time being, just remove ethics. What is all this? This all is a medium of earning money. Okay? Through money, wrong things, good things, everything is channelized. See, someone who is doing this doesn't care. Okay? For example, these are inhuman acts, fake news. But there is a whole marketing setup, there is a whole propaganda, or there is a whole infrastructure machinery which is set in place so that this can be manufactured. This can be what? Made into profit. So they've got your attention. Okay? Now, all these social media profiles, all the more time you spend on the internet is gathering data, your data. It knows everything about you. You just speak a word, name a product, and the other minute, within half an hour, you start seeing what? Similar suggestions in all your profiles. So no, they know your taste, your interest. So what happens is, when anyone knows your taste, your interest, they try to show you more things of the similar interest. If you are into cricket, your whole news, your whole profile will be showing cricket. Usse kya hoga? You come into in Hindi we say kuएं में, in a well. You can't see beyond that. You are so much engrossed in that. Two things happen. First, you tell your interest. Okay? Now, based on your interest, what social media algorithm, as we talk, algorithmic amplification of social media, what they just try to keep you showing the same material. What happens is, you keep on seeing the things which you like more and more. The dopamine level rises up and you're in a happy zone or just chill zone. This is what I like and this is what is going on. The sad part about social media is that there are no, with time there are being regulators in it, but for now, understand the term virality feeds virality. F is small. Whatever goes viral, whatever goes viral. social media enhances it more and more. If something is on the rise, it will try to make it more on the rise, and similar content will also catch up. Like if something is being famous or infamous, famous / infamous, then what? There has to be a check, a barrier, whether it is authentic or not. But no, what social media does is, its whole mechanism, algorithm mechanism, tries to bring it to more viewers because it is going viral. So what happens? Your interest, your attention is driving others' attention also. Virality feeds virality. That was a part how social media interacted with you. The tech companies, how they are seeing you. Another part is what they try to make you become is, you've seen a horse in a race, right? There are races in which horse participate, and a horse has somewhat like this, it's a protection, or the horse cannot see right and left, it just is able to see the front. That is what they try to make you. When you just try to see the same news, you are being fed with the same news, you can't see outside there is a world totally outside of your views, of just your social media or internet base. But all this is trying to do what? Just to keep you concentrated, try to earn your attention. Okay. A fun fact, like if you imagine, in today's world, social media is so much hyped that, not so much harming also, but harming to science in a sense. Such ideas also circulated and are getting attention, and are getting legitimacy through social media. For example, if you just search, whatever your search may be, irrespective, whatever your search may be, if you just go and search for that particular stream of thought, let's take for example, the earth is flat. Take a very basic example, the earth is flat. But if you go and search for it, there will be million+ people who have the same idea. It is a worldwide renowned, proven, whatever fact that earth is circular in nature. But if you just go and search, there are people who still believe in such facts and they are arguing about it. That is the idea. Another is, like, some people have recently circulated an idea of Greater Bangladesh. Okay? Stupid, unimaginative idea, but still there are people who are associating with it. Another is, it's kind of a joke, there was a section of population who was voting for Trump to get the Nobel Prize. Whatever the idea may be, baseless, but there is a section of population which are supporting it. Another is, according to Trump, his followers also believe, including himself, there is no such thing as climate change. Just imagine, and you will have millions of people agreeing to this thought, that there is no such thing as climate change. You are seeing the idea, right? You are so much in your own zone, in your own bubble, that you cannot see what is going on, what is the truth. Like n number of numerous theories, studies are going on that climate change is a reality and it will affect everyone. The developed countries, the developing, rich, poor, everyone. But still, there are people, Trump being a billionaire and the president of USA, is saying no, there is no such thing, and he has pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement also. Topic for another day, but just imagine what the social media, the internet can do to you. Someone whom you've not at all seen, that person is controlling your thoughts, your ideas, and then you just go in the flow. Okay? Another, if you see to a larger, these are simple things which are not affecting you, but how social media, these pages, platforms can change identity and reality of the world. A very ironical example is, you might have heard Elon Musk and the whole ruckus which he created to buy Twitter, and after that he named it X. You guys are more familiar with these concepts than me. But if you see that during the second term of Trump elections, US presidential elections, what Elon Musk and Trump were in synchronization with each other. In the tweets, in the X profiles, whatever tweets that were done in favor of Trump were brought up earlier in the page. It was highlighted more, and whatever the facts, data which were being allowed to correct it, or people who had dissenting views were put down in the list. When you search something in Google, the first link is the link which is clicked the most. Why? Because it is on the front. That is the same idea which Elon Musk and his team used to bring Trump to the forefront. If you are slightly inclined, through his views, through seeing that other people have similar views, you will be more channelized. So that is how it is gone, and Trump was equally rewarded. Elon Musk By giving him what? Department of Efficiency, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. We'll see in the next slide how that turned out to be a disaster in this whole scenario. Because result matters. You did something, then how it turned out, that also matters. That is what, that conclusion will lead to your next step. Okay. Now what is the role of common people? Okay. Or what is the role of government institutions? See, what do we do? Whatever happens, we look towards the government. We look towards the person, the structure of authority to save us, to regulate us. You and I, we don't know everything, but the institutions are more in terms of what is going on globally. Because when you see the macro level picture, it is they who will regulate things. So what is going on? Just imagine the pace at which technology is rising. Okay? You might have had a smartphone last year, but that smartphone is actually outdated. It's outdated. There's no fact to prove it. But that is the speed at which everything, your smartphone, in fact your pen, everything, the tech around us is like running at a faster than Usain Bolt himself. Okay. Now the idea is, how do we control it? How do we regularize it? By the time, something, let's take the example of ChatGPT. Okay, let's say the broader aim is AI. We will try to understand AI. When AI came, there were concerns, reasons, multiple views were going on. So there were two approaches. One, the government just take AI and Bitcoin, both, because both are related to tech. There were two approaches. One, you could have easily banned AI/Bitcoin also. Both have different meanings, just for the sake of example. And the other was to let's wait and watch before regulating, before putting a full stop to it. What many bureaucracies, many democracies did what? To wait and watch how it turns out. So that led to two things. In the case of Bitcoin, you see, in the case of Bitcoin, India particularly had the idea of let's wait and watch. Initially, they banned it. All the Indian websites that were promoting Bitcoin or helping you transfer Bitcoin were banned. Then later on in budget 2023 or 24, they put a heavy tax on Bitcoin. So somehow they're trying to regulate it. That was the idea. So many countries totally approached Bitcoin and some totally banned it. That was the idea. So Bitcoin didn't have a large scale impact. Now same is the case of AI. Okay. ChatGPT. What initially happened was everyone saw it how? Just a tool. Just a tool to gather information, talk, learn more. But since then, AI has evolved so much, you might have heard of the word Ghibli. Ghibli. It's a form of ancient Japanese art. What I'm trying to tell here is, by the time our bureaucracy, by the time government understands what is going on, that stage has passed and multiple stages further has passed. AI was never seen, initially was seen that it will decrease employment to a certain extent. But now that extent has been, as I said, geometric progression wise. It is trying to attack, conquer or replace almost everyone, even artists. AI is now creating music. There's a viral music going on of Sayara. And it's there that Kishore Kumar has sang it. But it's not the AI has sung it. It's in the news also. So imagine what AI is capable of doing. So by the time our government thought of regulating it, AI was not just that, it has encompassed everything. There are countries which are having AI ministers now. Then how do you regulate it? This is known as spacing problem. By the time the government understands, by the time the bureaucracy, bureaucracy is also what? They are not so much tech savvy, right? The guys who are developing such things are at another level. But the government is not at that. So by the time they understand, they set up committees. Long time has passed by. Until then, there is a tech boom. What you had made a project on or what the committee had suggested is now past. The whole scenario has changed. That is the speed of AI. And if you would like to know a quote, it is a double-edged sword, like anything which is powerful, even a person with a powerful speech is a double-edged sword. It will have good thing, it will have bad thing. Like AI is also good, ChatGPT is also good, you're getting to know. But what AI is also doing is hallucinations. Like in the recent news you might have seen, there's a big tech company known as Deloitte, and it has some tussle with the Australian government or some company of Australia, I'm not remembering. Why? Because the report which Deloitte presented was based on AI, and it turned out to be false. So what did AI do? AI hallucinated. That's the term which we use it. And when it was fact checked or proven that the whole information which AI produced was false. Now, who bears the onus? So therefore, Deloitte is paying them some money, and that is a different story. But what I'm trying to say is that AI itself, the coding, the programming is in such a way that that is also producing fake news. So who do you make responsible, right? That is another question. See, the power of AI is such that you have two streams of media. One is the traditional media and the other is this social media. Okay? The media houses, the newspapers, the radio channels, original radio channels, what were that? That were the original where you used to have the information, so news information. So, but now those media channels, the authentic newspapers, they are also doing what? Taking help of them, and they are also providing wrong information. For example, just we are UPSC aspirants, so you might have heard, absolutely might have heard the word, the newspaper, The Hindu, right? So during the initial days of Operation Sindoor, initial days, like the most crucial days are the initial days, right? And it just posted fake information that few of our fighter planes have been shot down. Imagine a newspaper of the stature of The Hindu providing fake information, and that fake information was used by Pakistan as a propaganda in international media. Okay? Because everyone sees The Hindu as a credible information provider, it provided, then it had to say an apology, but the damage was done. The another false part about AI, this whole fake news is that once your damage is done, how do you recover? Like your name, your image is tainted. Then everyone will say, okay, it was fake news. But do you actually recover? That is a question which future will have to see. Okay. So this was the idea, and why, the most important thing, why this all is more in news and why do you need to consider it? Because there's a report according to Reuters, you might have heard of it, REUTERS. It says that 50% of the population is heavily reliant on social media for consumption of actual news. Like 50% of any population or Indian population is relying on social media for consuming actual news. So therefore, the role of fake news, misinformation, disinformation increases a lot. Okay. Imagine the power now social media holds, because what social media will say, the actual news people will absorb it and relate to it and accept it, and to some extent the mainstream media is also doing the same. They are relying on social media. Therefore, the role of all these institutions becomes very important. Now let's discuss one report, which is, these are the quotes which you will put in exam. One report is of Global Risk Report of WEF, right? I need to learn this. World Economic Forum, ये तो सुना है ना everyone, World Economic Forum, and the report is Global Risk Report. ठीक है? What this report said is, India is very much vulnerable to misinformation and disinformation. They had done a large scale research, and based on this research, that we are saying that India is most vulnerable to misinformation and disinformation. ठीक है? Another reason is again democracy, because Indians are very emotional. Therefore, they are very much prone to such attacks. Now, this is a fact. Okay? We are all. But how is the whole government machinery? How is it being played by fake media people? Okay, the whole structure. On one side we have the government. Okay? And the other side we have people, organizations, whatever, who promote fake news. So how are these guys, the villains, how are they getting an edge over the government? Okay? Because government with all its machinery, all its power, all its resources, how is it not able to curb it? See, the answer lies in two things. First, no one cares for the right news now. That's a general statement we see, but there's a term low risk and low cost. ठीक है? Versus This part is the fake news, guys. Okay, I mentioned fake news. And this part is the government or any machinery which is against fake news. Any machinery, be it an individual company also. So we'll try to compare the resources which fake news has and the government. For example, just take an individual. If a person like me or a person like you or a group of individuals just like to spread a rumor, it is so easy. Sometimes it doesn't even cost anything. Sometimes it's absolutely free. I'll just stand up, anyone will just stand up in the middle of the road and just say something, fire, 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 and everyone will see towards it. Okay? And if coincidentally, there might be some burn, it will become a news. Okay? So simple. But that was truth. But if an organization does it, for example, okay, India has again been blessed with beautiful neighbors, very cooperative neighbors. So there are organizations, private, state and non-state actors both, which are now, they are actually now set up as proper infrastructure. They are now proper companies, which you can contact and have your agenda, propaganda fulfilled. There is a whole mechanism going on. You can reach out to people and you tell them that this is my propaganda, this is a fake news which I want to spread, and they will actually do it for money. So the cost is very low and the risk is also very low, because the risk is what? Because of anonymity. Very big term since the internet spread was anonymity. Who are you behind the screen? Who am I behind the screen? No one knows. And the other is the government or any organization which is trying to suppress fake news. The amount of cost is very high. The amount of risk is very high. And if you still add up these two, there is no surety that your image or whatever fake news that had been spread, the propaganda which had been spread, will come to halt, or the negative consequences which it had. Like for example, many people give inflammatory speeches and give wrong speeches also, but due to that many riots happen. But if that person is taken accountable to, but the consequences of it, can you revert them? No. What has happened has happened. The image, the lives lost cannot be get back. That is the risk of it. Understood? These guys, whoever spread fake news, so easy for them, like just a tweet, just a fake video, AI video, and it's wildfire. But to suppress it, to tell all those people that this is wrong, takes much more mechanics, much more mechanism, and the cost and risk involved. And just remember this word, anonymity. Okay? Anonymity. Okay. See, understand. I'll tell you through examples what is anonymity. First, what everyone is talking to these days is what is just a screen. Okay? You don't know what the other person is, other guy is. So many people have been bluffed. They think of they are talking to someone else. But it's casual joke. Most of you guys might be thinking they might be talking to a girl, but it turns out to be a guy. Okay? That's. And if you see it to a larger espionage, you've heard, right? What the opponent country does. Espionages. How? You will think that the officers or those who are responsible, or those who have power, they think they are talking to someone else, someone influential, most probably a girl. Honey trapping, you've heard, no? So that is the whole idea of anonymity. You never know who the other person is, but still, it's gone. The case is gone. That is the power of AI. That's the negative power of internet. See, another thing is, last year, in around 2023 end or 24 beginning, in Delhi, this is a Delhi case, there were many fake hoax calls coming to government schools, private schools, small children's schools, that there is a bomb. Now, it was, I'm trying to make you understand the cost concept, how the low cost and high cost ratio. Okay? So, it's just a phone call, it's just a message that this school is armed, alarmed. Okay? Now, imagine the whole Delhi machinery, the police stations, the ambulances, the media person, everyone got active. Just for a phone call. That is the cost ratio. What did it cost for a phone call or a tweet? Nothing. And because of that, so much expenses is going on. That is the difference. Okay. Now, who are in ethics? You've learned stakeholders, right? So this is a better way of remembering. Who are impacted? See, everyone, every section of society is impacted. Okay? But you can't write and mention every section. So we'll just use a broader diagram. First, who is impacted? Personal level is impacted. Then local or regional, okay? Local, then regional, then national, and then comes the globalized international world. You can make a diagram also, globalized world, okay? Now if you see what is the impact So you can, if you make such a diagram, you can easily understand at the personal level what is the impact. Simple. Okay. Your image is hosted, wrong news, and whatever it goes. Now, another impact is you start to living in an imaginary world. होता है ना? Fake news is feeding fake news, and you're in the zone. So you never know what is the actual truth. But for most of the people, it doesn't matter. But just for the sake, for those who matter, you're start to live in an imaginary world. Okay? Like you're talking to someone who doesn't exist, but you're still talking to him. Nowadays, we are promoting chatbots, talking to people who don't exist. Okay? There's a phenomenon in Japan also. We'll discuss that some other later. Now see, local mein what's the issue? Riots can happen, like riots happen. As I discussed the ambulance case over here, children's school buses. Those are governance issues. Riots happen, governance issues happen. Okay? Again, the increased proliferation of negativity that goes on. है ना? After that come security issue. Both are regional and national level security issues. Then comes social polarization with political polarization. That is seen almost at a global level now. See, political polarization is now sitting in India also. You are having a view of America. Who will win there? That is political polarization. Social polarization is what? Groups being formed. It's being formed with ages, but the speed at which. Earlier we used to have caste, now social polarization. That you are trying to outcast or incast someone. Your views are minuscule now. But what you are trying to do is trying to form a group having similar views. And what that leads to, unsaid enmity. Whoever is opposing your views is an enemy. Unsaid, like you might have seen, people are fighting on the internet over the issue. Might be important, might not be important. They are fighting for mobile phone covers or mobile phone color. They don't like it and they are just fighting over it. Imagine the impact that it has. Something which is of no value to you, but you are fighting for it with your emotions to someone, for someone you don't even see or you might never see. That is the impact of social polarization. You are energized in your debates. You are sitting comfortably, but the whole social media is trained, the program in such a way that you get involved in it. Your the whole presence, you're fully active in it. You try to fight, to try to debate to prove yourself right, to prove your views right, which are being enforced by people who are having similar views. Okay. And recently it has been highlighted, the most kharab form of it is mob lynching also, mob lynching. You might have heard various news, like in Northeast, there is a WhatsApp university people, WhatsApp group just circulated that some other guys have here to kidnap. And the whole tourists are now in danger. You've heard multiple, that they are caught and they are mob lynched. Okay? Same is the case with animals, cow slaughter. You've heard it. I don't need to explain it. You all know it. But imagine just a tweet, a single message having the power of giving the power to the mob. They lynch and they kill people. And there's no accountability because there is anonymity. Who has done it? No one knows. Okay. We've discussed meaning of information and disinformation. Just remember it again. Misinformation is where there's no intent to harm. And disinformation is when there's intentional intent to harm and cause polarization effects or whatever. But intent is what is important. And the another thing is mainstream media and secondary media. We've discussed, right? The role that mainstream media has, see, the new generation is following social media. But the older generation, our parents, they are still, to some extent, along with the mobile phone news, they are also seeing traditional channels also. But the traditional channels, the mainstream media is heavily dependent on now what? The social media. See, because it's all a game of money. Okay? Very people who here are actually trying to find the truth. And the negative part, the false part about truth is that it takes time. But no one has time. No one wants time. We are in such a rush these days. Real time of everything. So, just take any example here. If anyone is accused of anything, before the judgment comes out, which might take even years, which does take years, there is multiple media trials, multiple social media trials, and the person, whether a victim or a perpetrator, either ways it can go, is already decided by the media and social media itself, that most of the time they are decided as they are the perpetrators. But in many cases you have seen tens of years of judgment, the Supreme Court, the High Court or any judiciary, होता है ना, outplay, overplay कि नहीं, that person was a victim or that person was innocent, but his image is already tainted, those years are gone. So secondary media as well as mainstream media both are heavily affected by fake news. Again, I am reiterating the example of The Hindu showing news clip or some images of our fighter planes being destroyed or being hunted down by Pakistan, which was absolutely fake. They admitted itself. But that very image of The Hindu, that very image of the credible newspaper being spread in international media led to what? It asked credibility questions about Indian defense. Now, मतलब होता है ना, the whole propaganda was set up because of just one wrong image. That is the power that it holds. Okay. As I said earlier what happened was people used to wait. ठीक है. Now there is so much, मतलब everyone is fighting for your attention. There's a whole mechanism, like होता है ना, high level $1 billion mechanism to get your attention. So the time which truth wants, है ना, there are two things. कि once the truth is out, no one cares. And the truth is what? It's very simple. होता है ना, it's not engaging, it's not enticing. Like just imagine a simple news. ठीक है. If I just tell you this happened, you won't होता ना relate to it, or you won't even be interested. But how the representative of the media channels represented, yeah, who got this, who got, and they होता ना, they make a loud noise and they show expressions just to get your attention. That is attention economy. Truth is what? Simple. If they simply might have said this happened, होता ना, you wouldn't be interested. But ऐसा हुआ, this हुआ, what was the होता ना, you exactly know what it means. That is the idea. Everyone needs what? There's a big famous line was going, masala. होता ना, masala news is what is important. Boring news, which is the truth, it's out. So important news also is being sidelined because of this. ठीक है. Objective facts that has मतलब होता ना, they are facts, truth, but less influential. So what happens? They don't get viral more. The virality clause is neglected over there. We'll take two examples. ठीक है. First, I'll just write it down. You'll remember the two things happened in the first term of NDA from 2014 to 2019. Two things happened. Okay. First was demonetization. ठीक है. Just and we'll compare it. One has a positive impact. मतलब if you see the larger picture, and one has a according to reports, not according to me, according a negative impact. This is demonetization of GST. ठीक है. Before you start debating on social media, which is right, I'm telling GST has a positive impact because it did straight away, no clickbait. It did whatever it was supposed to do. The very idea with which it was introduced was to somewhat accepted and sustainable. That is why GST is said to be correct in the most simple. See, correct was such a simple word. It might होता ना, it might garner your, it might not garner your attention. And demonetization, ठीक है, it was declared to some extent a failure. ठीक है. Now see how it matters. होता ना, how truth matters. ठीक है. When first demonetization, when it came, whatever the claims the present government said, whatever the claims might be, ठीक है, we all supported it, everyone supported it, being a citizen of India, we all supported it. ठीक है. But after a few years, when the RBI report came and all the claims were 90% nullified, what happened? There was started debate going on. ठीक है. And those who debated were for or against, but the major population didn't care. That is the sad part of truth. कि it's done, it's dusted, no one is seeing back. Most of the cases, ठीक है, most of the whatever cases highlighted in the news, whatever, when it is up in the होता ना, recently, everyone is in there for it, trying to know, trying to access information. But as time spends, होता ना, as time passes by, we all forget it. No matter how important that might be, we all easily forget it. कि what has happened. That is the होता है sad part of truth, as I said. So in the case of demonetization also, the idea with which it was brought forward was not achieved, or was not achieved to the extent which it was said. So therefore, there was a report by RBI and it said that 99% of the money which was circulated in the economy is brought forward. So the whole idea through which it was brought was nullified. ठीक है. So people forgot the report. In GST, what happened was, there was whole hue and cry, GST is wrong, this is that, it will do this, it will do that, but the income will fall. But now if you see, because of GST, the taxes, that the revenue which our government is getting is increasing. But now the old theory that GST is bad, it will ruin the economy, it will ruin the market, it has faded away. And no one is talking about this because the sad part is that. Okay, now let's see what an international example also. Okay. I told you, it's a globalized world and you need to see how fake news turns out and how people create propaganda. In the case of European Union, in the case of Europe per se, what Britain did was, it said it needs to go out of Brexit. We all know that, because the whole claim was, the whole claim was that Britain is the main income generating country, it has the main sources of revenue, so why should it distribute it? This is the most basic information, most simplest form, why Britain wanted to exit Brexit. So there were many claims going on that this Britain will get this much money for itself and this that. But after so many years, now Britain itself is trying to do what? Sign trade deals. The opposite of what these guys told everyone in the world. The exactly opposite of that is happening. But no one cares of the present now, right? At that time, the idea was sold to you that Britain has come out because Britons will be in an advantage. They'll have so much money. But today, everything is false. Those guys who sold this propaganda, they got what they wanted. But now, no one cares for the truth. A similar example, as I said earlier, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, just remember this name. This was set up by the Trump administration and DOGE was headed by Elon Musk, and they brought out this whole picture that if DOGE will come in, US will save roughly $2 trillion. Like our economy is roughly 3 point some trillion dollars, GDP. And they said was that they'll save just by eliminating people, retiring people, what not. The whole Elon Musk idea. And the whole US administration will save $2 trillion. And now everything is false. Now Trump and Elon Musk are at loggerheads. This DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, has been disbanded. And the whole propaganda or the whole idea which it was sold to the US population, that so much money is all gone. No one cares. But at that time, this was so much in news. But who is trying to find what is now? There are reports published which says that DOGE is not able to acclaim what it said. But the population that is reading it is very less. Numbers matter. That's our next slide one. How does numbers matter? You might be seeing a trend that most of these fake news are towards gaining political leverage, towards political ends. See, because those are the people who have more muscle, more money, so it is mainly directed. What is this state and non-state actors? Why is so much of propaganda being spread against India? Because opponents that it has, opponents that we have, they've got money, less than us, but we care about social welfare. They don't. So they've got more money. In the case of this also, American example, they've got the money. So it is easy to manipulate. Like Elon Musk he's the owner of X itself. Past and forgotten Twitter. So whatever idea it wants, it can easily propagate. Within the next minute, you will be hearing of it. That is the power which it has. And I discussed that earlier also. And during Trump's second term election also, Facebook, through its algorithm, promoted Trump. Everyone knows this fact. But that is the power that they have. Okay, now see. What are the enabling factors? What I told you earlier also, and everyone lies now and then, since ages, before ages. But what are the enabling factors now? How is at this time it is getting so much craze? First is most technology. We discussed it. Technology is the most enabling factor. We've discussed how through technology things are going on. It is going arithmetic progression versus the geometric progression, and the speed at which we and the bureaucrats are not able to keeping it up. And the most important, I'll read it again, is anonymity. Just for fun sake. Imagine a world where everything would have been the same, but every electronic person, every internet based person should have a unique ID. If you post anything, that's one of the suggestions also in a committee report. But just imagine that every individual would not have an impersonation. That person would have an ID, like an Aadhaar ID, whatever ID you want, and everyone would know who is posting this. The angle of anonymity, if would have been cancelled out. The whole idea of fake news would have been diminished. Not there can be nothing zero. Okay? These guys might have found out something else also. Okay? But it might have been diminished a lot. So anonymity is also a enabling factor within the internet. You need to remember that. Okay? Another is social media. Okay? Easiest means to propagate something, to just spread out something, there is social media. Instantly you get to know it. Okay? It's a major tool. Then comes the part of regulation. Then comes the part of government. As we discussed, weak regulations. The time we understand what's going on, the time the authorities understand what's going on, that is already passed. Something new, something much more powerful has come up. Okay? Then the time we set up a committee to understand that, it is again passed. That's a circle. Okay? That is the whole, I'm missing out the term. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay? Another, now it is no more seen as just individual. Okay? Now, according to reports, there is a whole industry. Okay? Give it some time, it will be in the Forbes 100s list also. Okay? There's a whole industry willing to spread your propaganda, willing to spread fake news. Willing to spread news. They don't care whether it's fake or it's real. They just want the money. Okay? And it's very low cost also. That is the idea. It is, everything is monetized. Your attention is now monetized. And polarizing content is like Facebook rewards polarizing content. If something normal is going on, like rough example, if it's a clear day and someone just posted it's a clear day today, no one will see. But now see, there's smog, there's fog, there's Delhi pollution, and the way you represent it, that is polarizing content, right? See the amount of views or the attention which you give it. If everything would have been normal, you would never have cared for the climate or the nature. But now there is climate change, therefore you're caring for it. There's a reverse phenomena going on. Okay. Now, we discussed all the platforms reward virality and reward polarizing content, which attracts you more, your attention. Okay? We'll come to the next. What are the issues? You understand the whole idea? Kya chal raha hai na? You understood the whole idea? Now, see, issues very easy because, as I said, if you see personal issues, if you just take into account all the stakeholders, you will understand what the issues are. If you just think of each stakeholder at one particular time, you will understand what that issue is. Okay? So, in general, what the issues are. First and foremost is, truth is now in the background. Okay? The real issues, the urgent issues, like few people, or just for example, are controlling the internet. Okay? The platforms like Facebook is owned by someone, Twitter is owned by someone, hai na, waisa. So these are the guys who can control the information which is circulating in the whole world. For example, if they want a small news to be highlighted more, they can easily do it. In perspective, if there might be a more urgent theme going on in and around the world, okay, so that will not be like in the case of Venezuela. Okay, no one is talking about it. A very few media channels are talking about it. Why? Because that is what the American interests want. Okay? That is what the deep state of America wants. The deep state is another topic, I'll get to it. But that is the whole idea. A few people, a few individuals, a few organizations itself, if they want, they can change the whole narrative of the whole world within seconds, if not minutes. They can do it in real time. Okay? In Hindi we say na, jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. So what happens is two things. First, if you are into that kind of news, you'll be happy ki what you're enjoying is going on. And the second is, you are in a bubble. You don't know what is going on in the world. The third part is, if you see the same type of news again and again, that is part of issues. Okay, we are discussing. If you see the same type of news again and again, you become somewhat of an indifferent towards it. Like if you're seeing like people are fighting, wars are going on every day, so you get accustomed to it. There's a numbing to it. You become numb. You become insensitive, indifferent to it. Every day it's going on. What's new? But if you see different types of things, then you get to know different things. Like Russia-Ukraine is going on, and if you were in that type of information, war, you might be saying, chal hi raha hai. Now Israel is also doing something, Iran is also doing something. For you, it might have been common. With common comes what? Loss of interest also. You like seeing it, but for you, it's a common thing. So that is affecting your ethical behavior also. Okay? And there's an old saying, strength is always in the numbers. If many people just come out and say, होता ना, in Hindi I'm trying to explain it. राजा ने कहा दिन है, प्रजा ने कहा दिन है, भरी रात थी. मतलब when the king said it was day, everyone said it was day, but it was actually night. That is the strength of numbers. Okay? If large number of people try to come up and say something, and the whole rest of the people try and accept it, because so many people are saying it, therefore you are ready to accept it. Hota na? That is the circle. If they are accepting it and they have number, then you are accepting it, and in turn they are again accepting because you also added. Hota na? That is the strength of numbers. Okay? There's a, as I said, there's a feeling of rigidity. Hota na? Numbness ki. For you, it's like if road rage cases are going on. Okay? There's a spike in road rage cases. Okay? But those guys who are seeing these videos every day, for them, it is everyday phenomena. They'll not try to come out of the comfort zone, do something novel to stop it. It's for them, chal raha hai. ठीक है? If you understood the issues, right? See, in the broader, because I told you earlier, we are trying to study at the national level. You are trying to become an officer, trying to run the country. So what these problems will have on a national, as a national platform. As I said, elections are polarized. Politicians are polarized. That is the main. Elections will be affected n number of times, be it state elections, central elections, or just ward elections, municipal elections. Just before the election, you see so much fake news is in the market, so much. That creates what? That creates a burden on the election commission. That creates a burden on who? The person, the institutions, the organizations which are conducting elections. Matlab they've got a whole cumbersome process, and adding to it, now they have to curb fake news also. Okay? So if they are incapable, or you've seen so much news and now you are manipulated to somewhat, who will be accountable? Okay? The intellectual people start doing what? They start asking the credibility of the elections itself, of the election machinery, institutionalization of elections. It's something like in now Bihar elections are going on, so you might have seen all the voters thing is going on, fake voters, ghost voters. So whom is the opposition questioning? They are questioning the election commission with the present regime. So the credibility of election commission now comes into question because they are not able to suppress it. Okay? That happens in each and every election. So how are you being manipulated? We discussed, because you are using the internet so much more that each and every thought, each and every word of yours is being stored, and through a pattern, they actually know who your real identity is to almost 100%. Okay? Now so much fake news is in the market that when it comes in clash, or when it comes to the real news has to put up a fight. Like people not willing to accept the truth, because the numbers are with the fake news. See, if someone is silent and it's just silent, but he's right, no one listens. But if you're wrong and start shouting, people gather around you. Then you get an opportunity to make yourself heard. That is the idea of fake news. Okay? Fake news is so loud, and the whole idea is to make it loud, so that there are numbers with it, because masala news. But in all of this, the actual news, the truth, was suppressed ho jata. That is being suppressed. That is being hidden to some extent. It is being misrepresented. Okay? All this leads to crisis of credibility of institutions. Just write it. Crisis of credibility. Okay? Matlab, from small scale to large scale, if there's a fake news in a school, the credibility of the school, the college, the principal is called into question. If it is national, the national organizations are into question. You get the idea, right? If it's in a small office, the managers, it is into question. That is how it happens. So it leads to what? Institution failing. The failing of the whole institutional machinery, and through the failing of, as we're discussing it at a national scale, because it is part of, as I said, narrative building, narrative propaganda. So if institution fails, what fails? The whole country fails. If all countries are what? Strong institutions. Without strong institutions, there are no country, there are no boundaries. But if within national boundaries, institutions start failing, then the country, the democracy itself fails. There's a saying, democracy fails because of democracy. Because too much democracy is against democracy itself. You'll see it in see, if you're a new student, okay, some of the people might be hearing so much news for the terms for the first time. Be patient, just keep on doing, everything will be covered in a chronological manner, in sequence. In the next classes, further classes, you'll know everything. The idea is just to stay put and keep working. Okay? Now, issues ho gaya, the whole idea. Now, what are the challenges? Okay, I'll just challenges. See, as I said, challenges भी you can go it sectoral wise, individual wise. ठीक है. तो first, individual people. What are the challenges of individual people? Just think, sequence wise, how society is formed, how organizations are formed, then how to control individual people, then how to control social media, how to control mainstream channels, होता है ना, old school mainstream channels, then how to control this, all the platforms that are going on. The irony is कि in a democracy there is free speech, and because of this free speech there is fake news, and because of this fake news free speech has to be curbed. होता ना, the spiral, the ironical spiral कि there is free speech, and for that in a democracy there is free speech, and free speech leads to fake news, and because of fake news, the spreading of fake news, the menace that it has, free speech is curtailed, and when free speech is curtailed, democracy weakens. होता ना, this is a spiral. You just have to come back here. This is a spiral. That is why we say democracy means the death of democracy. Like, democracy is the reason why democracy is not successful. Too much democracy is never successful. Okay. Now, we discussed what were the legal provisions. होता ना, भारतीय न्याय संहिता BNSS Article 353. What it says, it criminalizes anyone circulating this news on social media, internet medium, ठीक है, electronic medium. And second is you need to memorize Article 19(2) because it has 6 restrictions on freedom of speech. Okay. Another important, now see, now you understand the whole concept. Now you need to memorize a few judgments, होता है ना, a few quotes which will enhance your answer. Or how this whole concept came into being is based on a judgment, ठीक है, on a few judgments. First judgment is you might share single case, होता है ना, सुना है ना? Okay, share single say. In that, Shreya, okay, I'm just writing short one. Share single say, what did Supreme Court do? It struck down Article 66A of IT Act. ठीक है? This act was like, if you just post anything on the social media, you would be accountable and the police will take you away. So just Supreme Court said this and they struck down this article. ठीक है? So to some extent, anyone, it went both ways. ठीक है? If you did, होता ना, if you try to write something against the ruling regime or against a powerful organization, then they used it against you. And in other ways, if you're trying to, होता ना, propagate, circulate fake news, then also this can be used. Everything is a double-edged sword, as I told. ठीक है? Everything is a double-edged sword. Second is, in you've heard the Kedarnath case also. ठीक है? Kedarnath case. In that it said, when there should be a curb on free speech, when it has direct connection to incitement of violence. ठीक है? If you said something and there's no impact, ठीक है, then it's okay according to the judgment. But if you said something, you did something and it has a direct impact or direct consequences, violence, then it will be punishable. ठीक है? Otherwise it won't be. That is what, मतलब, then it can be under the clause of curbing free speech. ठीक है? Otherwise you are free to say whatever you want. The most important one we had discussed in the first slide itself, Association of Democratic Reforms, ADR versus Union of India, ADR versus Union of India 2024 electoral bonds case. ठीक है? In that, the 4 words, ठीक है, misinformation, disinformation, I am just repeating it, non-information and single-handed information. All these were clubbed together under the broad umbrella of fake news. ठीक है? Fake news. And it says that misinformation or disinformation, wrong information is what? Fast to democracy. If the citizenry, if the common citizens, if the whole of citizenry is heavily burdened with wrong information, then it is a fast on democracy. So what we need is authentic information. That's what is required to say. Another, there's a committee also, just remember it, Rajiv, R-A-J, this is the first name which I'm writing in full, Rajiv committee. It said what in simple? Criminalization charges. Whoever is doing such things, spreading fake news, promoting fake news, incitement to violence, they should be struck down with, they should be have criminal charges on them. ठीक है? How the, I'll write down over here. See, the government has also seen this. it is the role of the government and the bureaucracy to stop and end to this. So how they are doing it? They have made another PIV fact check. ठीक है, तो through that it takes time, but होता है ना, सच को बाहर निकलने में टाइम लगता है. Truth will prevail, shall prevail, and will always prevail, but it takes time. So government has set up a PIB fact check website where you can go and fact check your website. And the last is, if any such thing happens, if you remember the name or don't, just remember EU. ठीक है, EU will always be the first in bringing out such bills, digital bills, every bills. So EU is bringing out some bills which has direct connection to curbing fake news. That's it for today. I hope you understood. Just revise it again. The menace of fake news will be done with. Thank you.